open-ended by nature, and it relies on your judgment to find patterns through the haze of words in your audio tapes, in your transcripts, in any letters you're reading as part of the analysis. Maybe you're doing some archival research. So you really need to take all those words and try to find some patterns and try to place that data into some kind of cohesive, coherent uh, 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 s- set of ideas and things you want to come across. Qualitative analysis is not about writing an opinion on a research topic or selecting a couple of quotes that support your argument or the argument you're trying to make. You might just pull some quotes out of there and just use those. Um, that's not what good research is. What you want to develop a clear analytical route from your data to a specific pattern. So that's kind of the methodology. The methodology you need to use. Make sure your data will be moving towards a specific pattern that you've already figured out. This is what we're looking for, and try to gather that information. Because ultimately, to a written report containing representative examples from your data that shows these patterns. So your first step in qualitative analysis is take stock of the data and contextual information available to you. Written qualitative data can be anything from an interview, transcripts, field notes, or a broad range of other written material, including diaries, meeting notes. Some businesses have take meeting minutes. Might want to use that. Whatever information you can get. If it's historical or archival documents, you might want to look at mission statements from years ago, or whatever thing you're looking for. Um, you want to make sure you have organize all that information so it can make sense to what you have. Um, when you think of bulleting your data, your initial decision might be to interview recordings and transcripts. However, you may be surprised how much extra data you might collect while you're doing your project and research. In other words, you've already outlined, okay, I want to do some interviews, I want to do a focus group. Then all of a sudden, from that experience, you may find some other avenues to gather data that maybe they may point out to you. You can find yourself with information such as diaries, photographs, or a range of personal, business, or government documents. I do recall once a student had looked into student government um, programs in universities, and they wanted to do the basic interviews and they wanted to do a couple of focus groups, this and that. But then that student came across a historical archive of student newspapers that were being collected in the library. I mean, 60 years of student news articles, and a wealth of information came out of there. And that wasn't even thought of until somebody in one of the focus groups says, "Hey, do have a library, and we do collect a lot of we collect all of the student news periodicals." So by gathering that information, it gave some real good meaning and more richer context to the subject that she was doing. So you can always do that. So such unplanned data is part of an open-ended nature of qualitative research. Just be sure to document everything, how you got your information, and analysis, and what you plan to get out of it. The other part to that I can tell you is that you don't want to go deviate too far from your overall goal, which is to answer your question, or to try to stay focused on that. So you may find something that's quite interesting, but off to the side and going to another direction. So that example I just gave you about the student finding all those newspaper articles might be an interesting thing to have, but it might not be helping that person in their particular research topic. So be careful on that. So at this point, as you begin to uh, do some positive data analysis by taking stock of your information, find out what's worth distinguishing between background information and stuff that you can use to provide context, and then you have to really systematically scrutinize through the data analysis process. When I was doing my dissertation work, I was all over the place, and I had hundreds of pages written, and I had to really sift through those pages and find out what was really important or vital, and prioritize those things. Some things were pretty good; they were important, but they weren't my top 10 priorities in trying to get this data. So I had to really cut out some things that, you don't want to cut out sometimes, but you have to, bite the bullet and just cut some things out. What you want to do is really target your information, make sure it's focused well, and make sure you are staying close to the research data topic that you choose. By contrast, background information can help you understand data and provide you some context to the data. So don't give up some background information. Um, I'll give you an example. There could be some miscellaneous historical information, notes you come across without necessarily analyzing systematically, like those newspaper articles. However, they still can play a role in giving you some insight on the broader picture or perception of the participants' lives as they were constructed. So you might be able to see, actually almost, right before your eyes, how things change through the newspaper articles or historical documents. You can see things in context. What might be valuable today might not have been that valuable back in 50 years ago. So you got to look at things in its particular context. So it's important that you don't just get rid of the background information. You want to make sure you put it into a good space.